So the only other super chat I got there was Eldritch Fan, which is a great segue. Please do a small multi-vid book study of Mindor. That's the next one I'm going to talk about. It's Luke Skywalker in the Shadows of Mindor, Star Wars. This book, I don't say this lightly. I told Sound Engraver, I'm still thinking it through. This book goes into my top 5. You know, I said my favorite books in the world, like my favorite books ever written, in no particular order, but Christmas Carol, Dracula, and Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury. I think this book has to go into to make it a top 4. Now, I'm not yet prepared to say that this book is one of the is so incredibly artistically and the best written ever, just like, you know, that top 3 or whatever. I'm not quite ready to say that. I need to think about it. But one of the reasons this book becomes my favorite is because it's Luke Skywalker at his aspirational best. This is everything you want from an aspirational hero Luke Skywalker story. It did not disappoint me on any level in that respect. Story-wise, it takes place at the end of Luke Skywalker's original commission into the military. So, you know, by the time you read the Thrawn trilogy, he's already resigned his commission as a general. So this is, you know, takes place, I think it's after the courtship of Princess Leia. No, it's before the courtship of Princess Leia. Yeah, it's before the courtship of Princess Leia. It's after Truce at Bakura. Right around there in that sort of little spot of the EU. And it's his last mission before he resigns his commission as general. I don't want to give things away. Well, I will say this, okay? It's by Matt Stover, who also wrote the novelization of Revenge of the Sith, which I'm reading right now, and I'm really blown away by that. So many people told me that takes the movie to a whole new level and really explains things all the more, and they're right. But Matthew, before I read that, the last Matthew Stover Star Wars book I'd read was Shatterpoint, Mace Windu's Shatterpoint. And in a lot of ways, this is a sequel to Shatterpoint, even though you're dealing with that was Clone War prequel era, and now here we're in, you know, post original trilogy era. Some of the same characters pop up, at least 3 of them that I know, thinking of right off the top of my head. And it's not a sequel in the way that, you know, I mean, obviously Mace Windu isn't around or anything like that. You know, he died, as we all know, in Revenge of the Sith. But it's a sequel in the sense some of the characters show up again, and the themes. It's a thematic sequel. And in Shatterpoint, we were dealing with Mace Windu really kind of facing the darkness within himself and being challenged. You know, going against Car Vaster on the Corran, you know, jungle there, and having to really struggle and overcome the darkness while not falling to it, you know. And it was a great story. It's a wonderful story. If you haven't read Shatterpoint, I highly recommend it. Here we get Luke doing the same, but in a way that only Luke can, because Luke is obviously a vastly different character than Mace Windu. And Luke just pulls it off and succeeds. And I could maybe see some people having a problem. There's a little envelope narrative. You know, you start at a place after the events of the story in which Luke is asking somebody to go investigate some things that happen. And then after you get the whole story, you come back to that little moment of that investigator talking about it. I could see some people having a problem with that portion of it. I don't, though, because I think that's very in keeping with Luke's character. And I like what's being said about him. This really draws to the forefront in the universe too, that holodramas are being told of these characters. So after the Battle of Endor, I mean, yeah, holodramas are being made, you know, of Luke Skywalker and this and that, and the death of the Emperor and so forth. And it shows how Luke Skywalker, the real human being, who doesn't want to be anybody's god emperor or anything like that, or try to, you know, be their savior-like figure, you know, in a disordinate way. But he does want to serve them and bring the light as much as he can. So him dealing with that sort of reputation that sometimes he gets from the holodramas. There's so many great quotes that I just want to read. You know, this has got the whole crew to us with us too. I mean, it's Han, Chewie, Leia, C-3PO, R2-D2, Lando Calrissian, Wedge Antilles. I mean, this has the whole crew that you love from the Star Wars, you know, original trilogy. You know, it felt like in that respect, it was like reading the Thrawn trilogy or something. Yeah, these are all your old favorite characters that you love coming back. I don't want to give things away, but I want to say more specifics, but I don't want to give things away because I really want you to read the book. I think you'll love it. The villain, Black Hole was the villain's. It was one of the Emperor's hands. He has this really interesting take on the dark side. He doesn't even believe in the dark side, light side of the Force the way a Sith or Jedi would talk about it. He believes in the darkness, period. He believes that there's nothing but darkness. The darkness is all there is. And it's a very nihilistic villain. He believes that to destroy is the only thing. If you start trying to create anything, the darkness will come get you, you know, and the only thing you can do is destroy and bring destruction. And he thinks that his own any challenges are obstacles or failures that he has in his own mission, he thinks, oh, it's because I tried to create too much. I should have just been destroying. And that's just absolute utter nihilism, which we have in our world today, in our culture today. Absolutely. And to see Luke go up against that, and it's not a two-dimensional villain by any means either, because, you know, does the darkness consume the light, or does the light shine away the darkness? You know, and people are on all the kind of different aspects of that question and conversation, and depending, and it's a really good exploration of that. And Luke just shining the light as Luke always does, finding the common ground with enemies. You know, not that every enemy can be saved, because no, there's elemental evil in this story that just needs to be conquered. Absolutely. But it's pure aspirational hero of Luke. You were saying to do a book study of it. I'd probably have to do a book study of it to be able to really tell you the specifics and some of the amazing tricks I think Matthew Stover's doing as a writer to really go through it all. I don't want to give that in just sort of a recommendation to you because I don't want to ruin it for you. But I'd love to do it. Maybe I'll do a book study by myself. See, Al can't do a book study with me if there's not an Audible as well, because Al, some of the medication he's on and whatnot, he likes to be able to have a book and open it, but he needs to hear it being read for him to really follow everything and pick it out. So we are going to do Dark Lord, The Rise of the Dark Lord, which has only recently been released as a non-abridged Audible version, so that Al can follow along with that. So we will do that coming up, I think, in April. But maybe I'll just do a book study of this by myself, because I would love to go through it on a more on a slower basis and pick out the things in it. But if you like aspirational heroes, read this if you haven't already. It's amazing. Matthew Stover's he's really kind of emerging as one of my favorite EU writers there. You know, John Jackson Miller had just been knocking my socks off before, but Matthew Stover with Shatterpoint already, the Revenge of the Sith novelization, which I'm almost finished with, is just amazing. So I definitely recommend Star Wars Luke Skywalker and the Shadows of Mindor. People have been telling me for a while that I should read it. And this came out in 2008, so it's not like one of the early 90s EU books either, which is great. I mean, I love early 90s EU and stuff, or 90s EU, whatever. But this was, you know, relatively late in the EU verse, you know, chronology of things being written, but story-wise it takes place, you know, even before the Thrawn trilogy there. Zachary Brown, thank you for the super chat, said, would you consider Luke or Anakin the chosen one? Mind being a strange question, but I've always had conflicting feelings on the topic of who is the chosen one really is. I think it's kind of a matter of perspective, because I don't mind people calling Anakin the chosen one. Anakin did bring balance to the Force in that he bore Luke Skywalker. You know, he had his children, but also it wasn't just that Luke, he was the father. He's not the father of the chosen one, and that Luke goes and does all the balance to the Force. No, it was Luke coming back to redeem Anakin at the end of the Return of the Jedi. Because, you know, it's Vader. It's Anakin himself who picks up the Emperor and throws him down the tunnel. Now, even though in the EU, you know, there's reincarnations and so forth, I think that's still the pivotal moment in which balance begins to be restored in the universe, is at that Battle of Endor. I would say that's the moment, you know, of where it all starts, even though there's lots of work to be done and there's back and forth to go through and whatnot. So I don't have a problem with people saying Anakin's the chosen one, but I also don't have a problem with people saying that Luke is the chosen one. I think I would argue with anybody who tried to say either one to the exclusion of the other, you know, because I think you can't bring that balance without the other. You know, it was Luke going back to redeem Anakin, and Anakin's ultimate decision in the end that made that brought that balance about. It's a good question, though. It's a deep question. Some people would disagree with me that the Return of the Jedi was the culminating moment of or the beginning of that restoration of balance, and you know, you can have that conversation too. But yeah. Eldred fan says, compare Luke's brush with nihilism in Mindor with Anakin's fall in Return of the Revenge of the Sith novel. He prevails where Anakin fails. He redeems once again. Absolutely, absolutely. It just solidifies Luke Skywalker as one of my favorite fictional characters ever. 100%. He's he's perfect. He is him and Superman and He-Man. These are like the holy trilogy of aspirational heroes. Throw in some GI Joe and Transformers in the mix or whatever.